This is a video just to model for you a little bit, modeling a little bit of an explicit instruction for you on, as a general education professional, on where to find more information or needs in an IEP and how to connect that to where a student needs more explicit instruction. This is a direct modeling of what I'm asking you to do for this week's and next week's discussion board for weeks 10 and 11. This is the first part where academically we're taking a look at a skill that a student might need and how to embed that in your classroom and in your own instruction. I'll be looking at my notes a little bit, so I apologize. I'm also using the sample IEP that I first put in with week 8, in which you could use to do an IEP snapshot if you didn't have one that was available to you. But I'm using this as a sample, a 9th grade student. I've put that IEP again in this week's module. It's in your discussion board folder if you'd like to take a look at that. But I've taken screenshots of that. I've given you a list of places in the IEP where you could look for some skills that may be appropriate for explicit instruction in your general education classroom. Again, a 9th grader with some academic goals about writing. If you take a look, this student, I took a section of their present level of performance and then their writing goal for their IEP. And this student really struggles to write paragraphs. This student has a goal now to do that. A lot of refusal, maybe doesn't have the explicit instruction they need. We're not quite sure yet, but this is a definite place, without more details about the student, to be able to talk about putting some embedded instruction in your general education classroom. So during a writing lesson, there are some barriers to a 9th grade lesson when students are being expected to write multiple paragraphs for essays. I would bet that there are other learners in that classroom that also need help writing paragraphs. These will be not just your students with IEPs or students with disabilities, but diverse learners in a 9th grade classroom that are still struggling with, let's say, a topic sentence, 3 or 4 detail sentences, and a closing sentence. There are lots of tools and accommodations we can use within technology for this. We could choose to teach an explicit instruction many different ways, to either the whole class about good paragraphs as a review for some, or as explicit instruction for others, or we could pull a small group of diverse learners. If you're just a single teacher in a classroom, you would have to do some station learning for this, or you could access other professionals, either ELA consultants or parapros or other special education or support teachers. Or as yourself, you could pull a small group of diverse learners, not just your students with IEP writing goals, but all students in 9th grade that need help writing paragraphs, and do an I do, we do, you do, where you all build one paragraph together, a high quality modeled paragraph where you first write. You can get out the chart paper if needed. They practice writing, and then independently you ask them to produce a paragraph. Now, for your student with a disability that has a writing goal like this, it might take that student 3 days to complete that, longer to complete that, and that's okay. It might take repeated paragraph lessons. But I've taught in a high school, and I know that 9th grade students still need help with paragraphs. So this is just an example of how to identify where you can do some embedded instruction directly from an IEP in your general education classroom.